All right, hello beautiful people. Welcome to your reading for the new moon in Aquarius. If you don't know any Aquarians in your life, I suggest you try and go meet some. They are the most unique, I almost want to say counterculture sign that we have. You know, they are always seeing things in a way that we wouldn't, the sort of collective we wouldn't really expect to see or try to see, and their sort of unique creativity and ways of understanding the world is kind of unmatched. So if I can say sort of one catchphrase for this new moon in Aquarius, it would be get weird. Get a little weird and allow yourself to see things from a different perspective, or maybe approach things from a different perspective. As always, I am going to be doing my 4-card reading. I do primary energy up top, the energy of the general lunar phase and sort of what's going on with you in your life or your current situation. I'll pull a shadow card down below, which is the energy of the unseen, the energy that might be contributing to your situation without you realizing, or something that maybe needs to be addressed or brought to light to help it be cleared and healed. And then I'll do a pathway read, which I always do, which is the energy on top is the block. It's the energy that's keeping you stuck, or the sort of vibe in the situation that's keeping you stuck, the mindset, the approach, that sort of feeling of not really being able to change things. And then the path underneath is the energy that you can usher in or embody in order to free things up and really allow things to move. As always, I am Indigo Instinct Healing on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Drop a like if you liked this video. If you're in my Facebook group, thank you so much for being a part of this. You guys get these readings in advance. You folks get these readings in advance, and you really help to kind of keep my stoke alive. And by all means, if you're in the group or if this is on YouTube or Instagram, share this with somebody, tag this with somebody, or tag somebody who you think needs to see this, or you think this reading might help or resonate with. And as always, if you want to go deeper with me and do private readings, my booking link is in my Instagram bio or in the description box below on YouTube. I'm just going to give it an extra shuffle because I feel like we need to move things around a little bit. That feels better. And also, if you like these videos, tune into my Transmission Tuesdays. I do videos that are more about what I do for energy healing work and more on subjects that might just help you day to day. They're every Tuesday in my Facebook group, or they come in later in the week on Instagram and YouTube. Okay. So for our primary energy here, I'm just going to tune in for a second. So the message that's coming through is not necessarily one of repetitiveness or redundancy, but it's more about, I'm being shown a vision of sort of like trying to dig yourself out of a cave, and there's one rock that's in the way and you just haven't moved it. You're like, I'm not going to deal with that. I am going to look at that later. I don't really need to move it. And you haven't either addressed it or moved it out of the way or done the difficult work you need to get it out of your life and to free your path. And it is really holding you back from what you could be doing, or sort of the next steps in your path and on your journey. The strong message that comes through with this card is that you know what you need to do. You know what situation I'm talking about, or what situation is being brought up in this instance. And maybe you have tried to change it before. Maybe you have, made some attempts and failed. And so what you've done is you've kind of pushed it off to the side and kind of ignored it in a sense, and sort of just been like, oh, well, I tried that, it didn't really work, or that's too hard, or that's too big. And it's kind of like the laundry in the corner of your bedroom, like it will get gross over time, and it will get stinky over time, and it makes it really hard to feel like you have a really zen and clean room when you have this sort of thing in the corner that hasn't been dealt with. And it's not necessarily like this is really going to blow up and become a big issue in your life. It's more like this is a stone that you need to take off of your path in order for you to clear the way. And I know a lot of you have been working really hard this winter and through January to level yourselves up and to take the steps to elevate and to integrate these changes that have happened in your life. And my guides are really coming through and saying, if you want to embody that new version of yourself and you really want to step into that, you've got to move all of the stones out of the way, not just the ones that are easy. So it's a bit of like a niggle card where you know what the situation is, what sort of element. This could be a habit that you have, or a tendency, or a perspective, and you haven't been willing to change it. But the time is coming where, this new moon is a really good opportunity to set your intention to really make an effort to move that stone or to change it. But otherwise, you're going to kind of continue to do new things with old equipment. So just being mindful of that, and giving yourself the opportunity to investigate maybe why you haven't changed it yet. And this is our shadow. I'm just going to tune in for a second. This is an interesting shadow for this new moon. It's got a little bit of an energy of fear of success. Sometimes when we want to make a change and we feel like we're doing all the steps to, make the thing happen, and we're, making the plans and writing in the journals and doing all these things, but there's actually this fear underneath inside of us that really says, well, what if I don't like who I am when I'm different? Or what if I lose my friends? Or what if my family sees me differently? Or what if it's lonely? There's this fear when there's big change and there's this opportunity to make really big change of, well, what if I don't like it on the other side? And it's coming up in the shadows because it's kind of like you're so close to being on the other side of the hill. You can see the sunrise, you can see the green grass, but you're kind of standing at this invisible line that you've drawn and gone, well, I don't know if I want to go over there. You've worked so hard to get yourself to that point, but there's this kind of, it's like when I use little kids as references a lot, but it's like if you either have a little kid or you spend time with little kids, or you remember being like this as a kid, that, you want to do something so badly and you talk about it and you get so excited about it and you want to do it and you want to do it. And then the time comes to get there and there's all of a sudden this like, I don't want to go in, or I don't want to do this. And it really is only that sort of last mind blip of fear that is showing you you're doing something outside your current comfort zone. That doesn't mean it's the wrong choice, and it doesn't mean it's going to end in disaster. It just means that it's beyond the current boundaries that you've created for yourself, and you're expanding those boundaries and you're pushing past those current limitations by choosing to move forwards. So give yourself some time to really think about, am I actually just afraid of succeeding? Am I making up excuses for why this isn't going to work because I'm afraid of what it's going to look like? And then make a decision of, do I just kind of plug my nose and close my eyes and jump? Or do I decide that maybe I don't want to do this? And that's really got to come from you, because otherwise you're going to sort of keep teasing yourself by being at the invisible line and seeing the horizon, but not taking any steps forwards. And for our pathway, all these cards are really beautifully linked this lunar phase, which I love when this happens. Our block is our spirit fox. And again, it's sort of this fear of change, as well as this fear of, they're showing me a bit of a fear of rejection. Like you're working really hard. They're showing me a lot of visions of like breaking through the mold. We spend so much of our lives looking at the conveyor belt and going, do I really want to be on that? Or being stuck on the conveyor belt of life and not really realizing it. And this sort of new moon is showing us like we have done so much work to get off of that. And we have done so much work to cultivate our weird qualities and our special talents and all of these things. But are we actually okay with ourselves, with who we are? This change that's happening, are we okay with that? And is there a part of you that needs to go to a quiet place or sort of give yourself some time and mourn or honor or recognize the parts of you that you're not going to take with you as you transform, and you're not going to take with you as you move forwards? Because again, this card is a little bit about, I'm changing. I don't know if I'm ready, or I don't know if, I'm already in the process of transformation, but I don't know if I love myself enough to love myself through it, or if I love myself enough through, to sort of see it through fully. Some people are on this path of transformation, and then they start to see really big things in themselves change, and they kind of self-sabotage because they don't really know what that looks like, and they're afraid of that. So they kind of want to keep themselves mostly the same, but go through the process anyway. So ask yourself those questions. Do I love myself enough to trust that I can make these changes? Or do I need to honor and mourn these parts of myself that I'm not bringing forwards? And what are those parts of myself? What are those things that I'm not bringing forwards and that I'm letting go? Because if you can highlight them and then honor them and release them, it's going to be so much easier to move forwards instead of bringing them forward as this kind of shadow that you don't really name. And interestingly, the path for this new moon in Aquarius is coming through a ceremony. So whether you are familiar with doing ceremony or not, you can always send me a DM and ask, but there are tons of useful sort of basic informations about casting a circle or holding a burn ceremony or a release ceremony online. But in order for you to kind of formalize these changes and formalize this letting go, participate in some sort of ceremony that honors your transformation. And whether that's, ceremony can be anything as simple as, throwing out your ex's comic books. Maybe you kept them for a long time and you told yourself you were going to read them, but you never did, and making it really intentional of setting yourself into a centered place, grounding yourself, getting rid of them, sort of cleaning that space, clearing the area, maybe replacing them with something that is more aligned with your own personality, and then either getting rid of them or throwing them out or whatever, and making sure that as long as there is an intention, a beginning, kind of meaty section, and a closing, you know, really making sure that you finish whatever task you decide to do, whether it's carrying a list of intentions and burning them, or bringing a special rock to the ocean and writing something on it and releasing it into the ocean. You know, as long as there's some sort of act that closes that ceremony, like saying something of gratitude or honoring yourself for having done the process, then you have just conducted ceremony and you have just created a sort of magical circle and sort of scenario of something that will help you release this current energy that you've got, or this sort of holding on to. I'm getting this vision. They're really showing me like, it's like you're holding on to like these ratty clothes, or like these old t-shirts, or like these painting t-shirts that like you never wear and they're gross and you don't even really like them, but they're familiar. And that can be harder to let go than something that seems better for you but is new. So if you can carve out a little bit of time, you only need, you know, if you have a very, very busy life or you have young children, you only need 5 minutes to do something of ceremony, like take 3 really deep breaths, write down what it is that you're releasing, light it on fire, or bury it in the snow if you live in North America, or bury it in your backyard. You know, that is still ceremony and it still will serve its purpose, but there needs to be some physical action in order for you to release this last sort of element that you've been holding on to for so long, to really move into your sort of new self and your transformation. You know, we're past Imbolc, we're past the middle point of the winter solstice and the spring equinox. So we're already moving towards life and we're already moving towards spring. And if you are really visualizing that transformation that I know a lot of you have been sort of manifesting and holding in your personal spaces, you have to let go of every element that's holding you back in order to really embody that next stage fully. So that is what I have for you for the new moon in Aquarius. I am sending you all the blessings and the love and the weirdness, and I hope you found this helpful. And yeah, as always, drop a comment, like the video, share it with someone who you think it might help, and sending all my love to you. Until next time.